Today we discuss the power delay profile of a wireless channel. So in last class we discussed that the impulse response of the frequency selective channel, something like this, h of t is equal to summation of various filter channel tap coefficients del of t minus associated its propagation delays, and I is equal to some 0 to L minus 1. If I plot them over the delay axis, means tau axis, so h naught is the channel coefficient at delay tau naught, so h naught, and h1 is the channel coefficient at delay say tau 1, similarly h2, so up to there will be at tau L minus 1, and this is what? HL minus 1. So this is the impulse response of the channel. And these are the channel coefficient with respect to the tau naught. And where H naught you can write like this is nothing but sum of the large n number of paths, that is I is equal to 1 to some n naught alpha I into e power j phi I. So similarly h1 is equal to summation of I equal to n naught to n naught plus 1 to n1 number of multipaths. So this is h naught value. As we change the location, if we change the location, so I am plotting here the distance axis. If I change the location, say somewhere at this point, and if I observe the h naught value, so now all the multipaths propagation delays are what? Slightly will be modified, and causes this sum will be either constructive addition or destructive addition. Thereby the value of h naught at this location, so say it is d is equal to 0 and say d equal to some d1. At this location, the coefficient at tau naught delay, the value will be changed, and you will have what? New delay, because of the constructive and destructive addition of these complex numbers. Similarly, at tau 1 you will have a different value of what for h1, at tau 2 you will have a different value for h2, and something like this. So like that, the channel impulse response will be a location dependent, or it will be location dependent. As you change the location, and the impulse, these coefficient values will be changing. And if the receiver is moving with a constant velocity v, and you can transform this axis to time axis. Now you can talk about not instead of what at locations, at different locations, you can talk about in terms of different time instances. And so if you transform this axis into time axis, so we will say at time t equal to t1 we observe this impulse response where the channel coefficients are what changed from time t equal to 0 to time t equal to t1, the channel coefficients are changed. And similarly you can also have another impulse response at time t is equal to t2 corresponding to a location d is equal to say d2. So here also the values may be different, maybe negative coefficients, some of them may be positive coefficients. Because of these complex numbers, they are constructive or destructive addition of these complex numbers. It can happen with h0, it can happen with h1. So these values are actually, these channel coefficients values are actually location dependent or time dependent, and thereby the impulse response will be a time varying impulse response, because these waves may be observed at this time point of time. At different time you will be observing different value for the channel coefficients. So we can write the channel impulse response as like this: I is equal to 0 to L minus 1. This HI is now time dependent. So you want to talk about in terms of time instead of the location. So it is time dependent now. So it is del of t minus tau I. Now if you see, there will be a correlation exhibits between the channel coefficient at different time instants, that is the autocorrelation function, so h naught at tau. So for flat fading we have discussed, same thing we can now discuss for what? Coefficient of h naught. So we already discussed that it is nothing but sum of multiple flat fading channels, which makes it frequency selective channel. So the autocorrelation function for the h naught coefficient will be something like this, say p naught j naught of 2 pi. So which we have derived for what? Flat fading. Same thing can be extended to the first tap, autocorrelation function of the first tap, where the p naught is actually here the average power contained in the this tau naught path, zeroth path. And similarly, so same Bessel function kind of autocorrelation function you can also find for what? For I equal to 1. So that one will have what? P1 into J naught. So they are nothing but what? The frequency selective channel is nothing but sum of multiple flat fading channels for different delays. So P1 is the average power contained in the path, tau1 path. So I write P naught is equal to expectation of mod h naught square. Means h naught value may be varying from time to time, but the mod square and average of the mod square will be constant over all the time instants. So that is what average power in the first path. Similarly, P1 is the average power in the I path of I equal to 1. So like that you can have average power versus the delay axis. Like if I plot for this impulse response, I may get, I am plotting that what? The average, so instantaneous value for this h0, h1, h0, here h0, here h0 may be different. But the average power throughout the down the timeline, the average power will be some value, that is nothing but expectation of mod h naught square, that is what? P naught. So if I plot the average power versus the delay axis, so that average power I talk about P of tau. So P of tau at tau naught is what? At tau naught the value is a P naught. At tau 1 it's a P1. So P2 and so on. And if you observe that we have plotted the average power versus delay, the average power is actually decreasing as delay is what? Increasing. This so maybe the instantaneous value may be may not follow this what decreasing function, because here at tau naught there may be constructive addition, at tau 1 there may be destructive addition, again at tau 2 there may be again constructive addition, like that. But when you talk about powers, the average power will definitely follow this decreasing function. Why? Because average power at tau naught, this is the path corresponding to having lower propagation distance as compared to the path of having delays tau 1. Because to get this increased propagation delay, all the multipaths in this tau 1 with the tau 1, they have traveled more distance as compared to tau naught. So the average power will be definitely less than the average power of the for tau naught delay. Similarly, the average power for tau 2 delay will be less than the average power for what tau 1 delay. Like that, you will have some decreasing function in this kind of chart where you plot average power versus delay. This chart we call it as a profile, we call it as power delay profile. So nothing but average power versus delay if you plot. So that is what average power delay profile. Power delay profile. And if you see, if it was a flat fading channel, the total received power P is equal to, you can prove that what. So what I'm trying to tell you that if it was if instead of a frequency selective fading, if it was a frequency flat fading, the total received power, is nothing but sum of the powers in the multiple paths. So that is what I is equal to 0 to L minus 1. If it is, if we are having a continuous channel impulse response, then power delay profile will be continuous, something like this. So last one will be say tau max, and if we are having a continuous time impulse response. So whether we have continuous time or discrete time impulse response, it will be discretized, and we can have a discrete time impulse response model that we'll discuss in last lab. But as of now, if the delays are not continuous, you can take it as discrete impulse response, or if your delays are continuous, you can take the channel impulse response as continuous, and power delay profile will be continuous. So if it is a continuous time channel impulse response, then the total received power, if it was a flat fading channel, so if it was a flat fading channel, so the received power PR is equal to, for discrete time, if it is a continuous time, it will be 0 to tau max, and it will be P of tau d tau. So it is for what? The impulse response, which is to tell it is what? It's a time varying impulse response. We have placed it what? T. And a more appropriate manner, we can write this as like this. So because it's now become two-dimensional, so we can write two-dimensional impulse response as something like h of t comma tau is equal to summation of I is equal to 0 to L minus 1 h of t comma tau I. Now it become two-dimensional. So at a given time instant t and at a given delay, this is the coefficient, and this will be del of t minus tau I, and this is like this. And if it was continuous, we can write, so if it is continuous, for discrete time the y of t will be like this, I equal to 1 to 0 to L minus 1, and h of t comma tau I. These weights are actually time varying, so the impulse response will become time varying impulse response. And if it was a continuous time impulse response, we can write this as, in terms of summation, 0 to tau max h of t comma tau into x of t minus tau d tau, if it was a continuous time impulse response. So we'll just now show that so y of t is equal, we will now just show that what, if it was a flat fading channel, the total received power is equal to sum of the average powers in the different paths, that is the P0 plus P1 plus P2, all the sum of this power will actually be the total power for the flat fading channel. So we will just prove it now. Simply what, y of t, we know it what, y of t is equal to, so sum of I is equal to say 1 to n, you can take alpha I e power j phi I x of t minus tau I. So expectation of, we have shown earlier that for flat fading charge is equal to, for flat fading or frequency selective fading, is the total received power is equal to, we have shown this as expectation of alpha I square, and I is equal to 1 to n. Now, so this is for what? Total received signal. If this is the total received power PR, and if I talk about if I want to find the value of P naught is nothing but summation of, so it will be a part of this one, that is I is equal to 1 to n naught expectation of alpha I square, which is sum of the total number of the multipaths. So P naught. Similarly, you can write for P1 the received average power in the tau 1 path, that is equal to what? I is equal to n naught plus 1 to say n1. So expectation of alpha I square. So it will be what? P1. Like that you can write up to what? So PL minus 1. If you see sum all of them, now if you see sum all of them, that is I is equal to 1 to L minus 1, and this will be equal to total received power, that is with what? Our flat fading channel. So what is now happening is the total received power now split over multiple paths. So this is the path with delay tau naught, and this is the path of having delay tau 1. So total power is now got split into over multiple paths. So some power will receive at tau naught, some of it will be received at tau 1, some of the received power will be at tau 2, like that. And so the power delay profile is what? The average power versus delay is what? The power delay profile. And we also now talk about the coherence time for frequency LT channel. So its coherence time we divide by TC. So within coherence time, within the coherence time, we can assume channel as constant, and so what I'm trying to tell you, that the impulse response h of t, we write like this: hi into del of t minus tau I. So whatever these coefficient values are there, they can be assumed as constant during the interval of time of Tc. So for a span of time Tc, you can assume these coefficients are constant, and within the duration of Tc, you can treat the channel as time invariant system. So during the interval of time Tc, you can treat the channel as time invariant system. But after lapsing this Tc, again what? All the channel coefficients will be changed, and you can within the next Tc, again what? You can have different impulse response. So I is equal to 0 to L minus 1, say hi dash. So coefficients are changed for the next interval of Tc. So within a duration of Tc, you can assume the channel as what? Time invariant system, but over multiple Tc's, the channel is definitely is what? A time variant system. So coherence time is the time over which you can assume the channel is constant. That is what coherence time. So within the coherence time, the system is time invariant. So after the coherence time, the system is a time variant system. So actually, there will be some requirement to estimate these channel coefficients through the methods called as channel estimation techniques. Through channel estimation techniques, we will be requiring to we will be requiring to find out the channel coefficient of this wireless channel. So that we will find through the techniques called as channel estimation techniques. So once you find the channel estimation, channel means, so finding channel means nothing but finding the coefficients. Once you find these coefficients, you can keep them and use them for the reception purpose up to a duration of TC. Again, once the duration TC is lapsed, so for example, if TC is equal to 8 millisecond, and you have found the channel coefficients through some technique, channel distribution technique, and those coefficients will be valid up to a duration of 8 millisecond, and for the next 8 millisecond you have to again what, estimate the channel, and the coefficients will be changed, and that will be used for the reception purpose. So once you want to estimate the channel, so one time estimation is not sufficient because the receivers are moving and due to Doppler shifts, so your channel will be a time varying channel. So you have to estimate the channel coefficients for every TC duration. So there is a requirement of finding dispersion parameters in order to completely characterize the channel. So the dispersion parameters can be found by using the power delay profile. So we are now discussing the dispersion parameters or time dispersion parameters. So time dispersion parameters. So if there is a power delay profile like this, so we are talking about say continuous time. You can also extend it for the discussion can be extended to the discrete time channel models. So it is P of tau and 0. Now we need, so time dispersion parameters, one is what we have maximum excess delay that one can, so one dispersion parameter is the maximum excess delay is one dispersion parameter, that is what, tau max. So this is the total width of the channel impulse response. Actually the one is what, a maximum excess delay, and second parameter is mean excess delay, mean excess delay. So we have variable propagation delays. So what is the average delay, average excess delay or mean excess delay? So we cannot find the average excess delay by taking the like a midpoint of this, because it's not arithmetic, direct arithmetic average. We should, because the power is actually, some delays are having higher power, some delays are having lower power. So we cannot take the midpoint as the mean excess delay. So we have to take the weighted average. So weighted average we have to find, so that that mean value will actually represent this power delay profile. So how do you find the weighted averages? So we find a weighted average in the probability functions by taking what? So if you are finding a mean value of a random variable x, what we do is something like, so x into f of x, so it is weighting, we are giving a weight and multiplying and doing the what, integration. So similarly here also what we do is we multiply tau with its weight function is p of tau, and we do integration over the allowable duration is what, tau max. But the area of power delay profile is not equal to 1 as the PDF function. So what we do is we divided this by the area of the, so we normalize the power delay profile by doing what? By dividing the value with the value of the total area of power delay profile. So finally we have for expression for mean excess delay as, so tau bar is equal to, so 0 to tau max, tau into p of tau d tau, and divided by 0 to tau max p of tau d tau. This is the mean excess delay. And there is, I can also find, if you want, you can find mean square excess delay. So in the same fashion like this. So mean square excess delay. So that is nothing but tau square bar is equal to same like this 0 to tau, similar to like this 0 to tau max tau square into p of tau d tau divided by, so normalizing part. So we can find now actually standard deviation of the excess delay. So standard deviation excess delays, so that we call it as RMS delay spread. So total delay spread means actually the tau max. So total delay spread or just delay spread you can note use as tau max. What is RMS delay spread is nothing but the standard deviation of excess delay. So standard deviation, how do you find it? You first find means. So we first find actually variance. So variance is nothing but mean square minus mean of whole square and take this one, that is nothing but what, square root of tau square minus tau bar whole square. This is actually RMS delay spread. If you want to find from this equation like this, you can find like this, that is the RMS delay spread is denoted by sigma tau. Sigma tau is equal to 0 to tau max tau minus tau bar whole square p of tau d tau 0 to tau max so these are the parameters. So this is for what, continuous time, in terms of continuous time power delay profile. For discrete time power delay profile, you can similarly you can write like this. Say for example, for tau bar you can write summation of tau y into p of tau y. All are in linear scale. These powers are in linear scale. So I is equal to 0 to L minus 1. How do you normalize this? Instead of integration, you will do what? Sum of all the powers over delays. Similarly, the RMS delay spread for discrete time power delay profiles. So like this. So they are the dispersion parameters. So we can solve the problems on this. So in the given problem set. So one more last point here is to discuss about the coherence bandwidth. Coherence bandwidth. So BC. As we have seen, the frequency response of the channel, which is the Fourier transform of, so magnitude of Fourier transform of the impulse response, as number of delays are added and you see a rapid fluctuations like this. And what is coherence bandwidth is, so it's it is a range of frequencies over which you can assume the channel as constant. For example, if the coherence bandwidth delta f is equal to say this 200 kilohertz, it means so the channel gain will be, you can take it as constant over the range of frequencies of 200 kilohertz. So for example, if I am transmitting a signal whose bandwidth is, say for example, say 150 hertz or 150 kilohertz, through a channel, through a wireless channel, and which is having the coherence bandwidth is, say for example, is say BC as 200 kilohertz. So over this 150 kilohertz, we can assume what actually the channel constant, and we are going to experience here frequency flat fading. So if we transmit a signal whose bandwidth is say above, say for example, around 300 kilohertz, which is, so for this example, if it is more than actually the coherence bandwidth, then what happens is different frequencies are differently will be attenuated, and the received signal will be actually the distorted. The received signal will be distorted, and you will be experiencing now frequency selective fading. So as we had discussed earlier that the fluctuations in the frequency response will increase with the tau max, means the number of impulses present in the channel. So the coherence bandwidth will be inversely proportional to the number of the impulses present in the channel, or BC is inversely proportional to tau max, and in a way tau max is proportional to sigma tau. So BC is actually inversely proportional to sigma tau, and through analysis and empirical results, so BC is found to be, the coherence bandwidth is found to be so point like this, 0.423 by sigma tau, or there can be any other proportional constant in a textbook, but we will follow this relation in this course. So this is about what coherence bandwidth. If the transmitting signal is bandwidth is less than the coherence bandwidth, so for example, if you are transmitting here, the bandwidth is something like this, then it will be multiplied with a constant. If I am transmitting this one, then it will be multiplied with a variable response, because y of f is equal to h of f into x of f. If h of f is not constant about the frequencies of x of f, then you will observe frequency selective. If h of f is, though it is frequency selective channel, but h of f is constant over the frequencies of x of f, so you can write this as a simple like some h into x of f, and thereby you can take the channel as flat fading channel, and you will not require any complex equalizers to recover the x of f from the received signal if the bandwidth of the transmitted signal is less than the coherence bandwidth. If the transmitting bandwidth is greater than the coherence bandwidth, then you will be experiencing frequency selective fading, and you will have intersim interference, and you will need a complex equalizers to recover the x of f. So that is today's class. Thank you.